aspiration comes a frustration. Okay, with every goal, there's an obstacle that we have to overcome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we don't have flip charts today. Oh, sorry, what do they call it? PowerPoint today. So there's some images I just want to share with you, and then the essence of this is not only do we see today the rock mines. It's something I just also want you guys to take away with you, because every time you have an ambition or goal or an aspiration, I want you to maybe look at this strategy and think to yourself and say, you know what, maybe there's something in here that can work. It doesn't always work all the time, but believe you me, it works more often than it doesn't. So nothing too major, just simple techniques, tools and strategies that we can all use, and and maybe share with other people if we can. Emergency, right? Okay. That's SOS. Any other person with any other ideas? Bobby, any insights?
Rescue.
Rescue. Okay. And what else? SOS. Mainly it's emergency rescue, distress call, okay, SOS. What it is I said that everybody has an aspiration, a goal that we want to achieve. And I also said everybody, every now and again, in between us and that goal, there's an obstacle of some sort. That obstacle could be anything. So that obstacle tends to cause us frustration, okay? So it could be in your job, it could be in your education, it could be in your career, it could be in your relationships, it could be in anything, in your projects. Every time we want to get from A to B, every now and again, there's always some sort of obstacle in the way. That SOS is linked to that frustration. And there are three kinds of frustration we can face, okay? And there's one that is self, there's one that is from others, and there's one that's from situations. If you look at every problem that we've always faced in our lives, any obstacle, any challenge we've always faced, those three things are usually responsible. It's either self-generated, others generated, or situations generated. And I'll give you an example. Self-generated are usually those that we cause ourselves. For instance, we feel frustrated that, okay, the distance between where we are and where we want to be, sometimes it makes us feel bad about ourselves. And sometimes we compare ourselves with other people. Okay, oh, he's got a better job, or he seems to be driving that flashy car. He seems to be living in a bigger house than I'm living in. And those are the self-generated obstacles. Then we have the others-generated obstacles. And that's where maybe you're at work, you're experiencing bullying, or maybe you're experiencing pressure, or maybe people are looking down on you for whatever reason, or where people actually say things that make us feel not too good about ourselves. Okay, and situations, the third one, they're the ones that is out of our control. Oh yeah, my flight has been cancelled, the train has been delayed, the buses have been cancelled, I've been made redundant. Those are situations that it's not, it's got nothing to do with you. It's just the way it is. It's just like terrorist attack or anything that's not real, or earthquake or tsunami, or whether it's man-made or natural disasters. Those are the ones that are situations induced. So does that make sense in a way? Because what I also want to talk about is how can we can't solve all our problems. That's not going to happen, but we can go a long way in managing the situations effectively. So the tools and techniques I want to share with you today, hopefully when you walk out of this door, is something you'll be able to think about. Hopefully you don't have to agree with virtually everything, but if there's one thing that resonates with you that you think you can actually use or utilize, then I think that is great. Then your time is well spent coming here today. So hopefully that's what I'm trying to, or optimistically that's what I'm trying to achieve. I'll give you a typical example, or not a typical example. I want us to think. Can you imagine this scenario where you go home tonight, or you go home today, and at night you sleep in your bed. That's in your bed in your home, right? And then you wake up the next day and you find yourself in a cell or prison. Try to imagine you sleep in your bed tonight. I can see Herman smiling. You sleep in your bed tonight, you wake up in the morning, and instead of waking up in your bed, you woke up in a cell or prison. And the interesting thing about this cell or this prison is there's a door leading out. Okay, so my question is, if you wake up in a cell or prison and you don't know how you got there, would you spend 5 minutes wondering how you got in that cell in the first place, or would you just walk out of the room and then wonder later on? Herman, what would you do? What's the first thing you would do?
I will think straight away why I'm here.
Okay.
And how
you got there?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Valeska, what would you do?
Get out of the room.
You'll get out of the room. That'll be your first reaction.
Yeah, because it
Okay.
doesn't make sense why am I in this cell.
Okay, so as far as you're concerned, you get out of the room, then you think about it once you're out of that room, yeah?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Jeremy?
Um,
Or do you want me to?
no, I'll explain to you later. I'll think, how I got there.
You mean if you wake up in? Let me repeat it to you. Let me just so you can grasp. You sleep in your bed tonight.
Yeah,
You woke up tomorrow morning,
in a cell.
and you woke up. You're not in your bed. You're in a
In
cell.
a cell, yeah.
You're in a prison,
Yeah,
and that prison has a door
yeah,
that leads out.
yeah.
So you're saying you're gonna spend another 5 minutes wondering how you got in there, or you go straight to the door and get out first?
No, that wouldn't be my first reaction. I will stay there and think how I got there first. Then I'll go out.
You're a philosopher, man. I admire you.
Yeah, me
But
too, me too.
You do the same.
I would get out of there first.
That's fine. Bobby, what would you? What would be your take?
I don't know, I just can't really imagine being in that situation. I don't want to think about it really, but I'm thinking if I do go out, there might be another trap if I get out that door.
Right.
So it's just I'm gonna know anyway.
So
So you just lay there.
that's interesting.
Yeah, like you. Yeah.
Or can be a nightmare.
You get out.
I mean, Yusuf,
Yeah, maybe
Yusuf, what do you
something
think?
like
Hey, sorry. Yusuf, what do you think? You
Personally,
woke up in a cell. It's dark. You don't know how you got there, but the door is open. Would you spend another 5-10 minutes wondering how you got there in the first place, or would you just walk out and think
I'll
about
spend
it?
another 5 minutes just to think about what leads me into going into there.
You know why it's good? I love your responses, and it's great. Carolina, what's your take? Do you know what? I don't want you to think too much about the question. I just want you to think about your human reaction. You woke up in the morning, you find yourself in a cell for another 5 minutes. Is that right?
yeah.
Yeah, okay. The truth is, what you've said now is you sitting down and thinking about the answer. But normally, I believe you mean, as a human being, if you were in that scenario, the first thing you would do is walk out and see what's outside. You at least try to open the door. Yeah, which makes sense. The reason why I've used that analogy is this: whenever we're faced with issues or challenges, there are two kinds of approaches or goals that we have control or influence over. Those things we can change. Remote are things we can't really change. We have no influence over. So, using that dark room, dark cell analogy, which of these, if this is not in my control, and this is in my control, right? Immediate is in my control, remote not in my control. So you being in that dark cell, which of that would you say you have influence over? Because the door, which I mentioned, is the immediate, because that's in our control. The dark room, being in the cell, we don't know how we got there, that's not in our control. So most times when we have goals or challenges, the reasons why we have certain frustration is because we focus too much on the things that we're not in control of, rather than focusing on the things we can change. Does that make it? Jeremy, do you have a question? I sense you have a question. Because put it this way, the dark room, you have no control of it. You don't know how you got in there. Why do you want to spend 10, 15 minutes of your life thinking about how you got in there when you have a door that gives you freedom right in front of you that you can go and at least try to see how you can get out? It's not your house, it's not your room. I'm not sure if that makes any sense. And what's your goal? What time scale have you given yourself to get it fixed?
Probably 2 weeks.
2 weeks, probably 2 weeks. Is that okay? So, so you've given yourself a 2 weeks deadline. So my question to you is, what are you in? I mean, you've given yourself a 2 weeks time. What can you do today in order to make that target in 2 weeks? What is the first thing you need to do today?
Get some money.
Get some money, right? Right. Okay. So you are not in control of sorting out the MOT, but which one are you more in control of? Being able to get that money or being able to sort out the MOT in 2 weeks' time? Which one is much more doable for you now?
Now just go to work, get some money, then I'll be able to.
And do you have a job?
I do.
Right. So now let's go back. If in that dark room situation, the dark room is the challenge, is the problem, getting your car fixed. And you can't get your car fixed without doing the MOT, right? So that is the remote. Because you're not in control of the MOT, you're not in control of getting the car fixed. What are you in control of tomorrow morning?
Going to work.
Does that make sense? He getting out of bed in the morning and going to work, that is immediate. He can do that. And you know that if you go to work, you get paid.
Yes.
If you get paid, then you fix your car.
Yeah.
And when you fix your car, you can do the MOT, right?
Yeah.
So you see the point. Sometimes we dwell too much on the MOT. We, in his situation, dwell too much on, oh, in 2 weeks' time, how am I gonna? And we forget about what is here. Does that make sense? Is there any questions so far? Is it making sense in a way? Yeah. So that's the point of the exercise, just to, so, and one other thing I also want to talk about is, we've spoken about self. So that scenario is self. Sometimes we're too hard on ourselves in terms of our goals and our aspirations and things. We focus too much on the end result and we forget about those little things that are in control. So that's why I use that darkroom analogy. I'll give you an example. For instance, right, sometimes we don't really need to know the story as to how things happened. It helps, but we shouldn't dwell too much on it. Sometimes we need to focus on what we have, the resources we need in order to get there. I'll give you an example. Jeremy, if you were walking on the high street and somebody came up to you and said, Jeremy, I'm trying to look for Bedford College. I'm new in Bedford, I don't live around here. What would you say? What would you tell the person?
Well, I will give him the direction.
Do you know where Bedford College is?
Yes.
Yeah. Are you gonna tell that person that, oh, you're looking for Bedford College? Could you tell me where you're coming from first? You wouldn't.
That's not important.
It's not. Sometimes it's not important where we're coming from. Where we're going is more important than where we're coming from sometimes. You're not going to tell that person, oh yeah, I know where Bedford College is, but before I tell you, could you just tell me where you're coming from? Does that make sense? And that's the darkroom analogy. Sometimes it's good for us to know the past, have an idea of the past, but we don't want to dwell on the past when we have the resources to move forward.